This is the original Space Shuttle. Never mind Benny and Squad. They're just there for funsies. From, again, 1990. Set 1682. It is a whopping 423 pieces. Truth be told, I don't know what it retailed for in then-year dollars because I don't remember. I was 5 when I got this set for my birthday.
We could look it up on Bricklane.
It's, yeah, maybe. This was the genuine space shuttle that LEGO had, classic space set that they actually like co-opted the name for and calls it Space Shuttle. You guys can look it up on Bricklane. It's from like 1985. There was a set called Space Shuttle. It's nothing like this. They did indeed get the license from NASA to use the worm logo and all the different imagery and stuff like that. So this particular set I bought secondhand. It came with the original packaging and the original building instruction as well, which I have inside. One of my favorite things about old school sets like this is we have the flappy box. But one of the other things I love about these old sets is that they always have this like promotional material here that I'll just read to you real quick. Creativity and quality craftsmanship are the key ingredients in all LEGO brand sets, and blah, blah, blah. It goes on like that. And then they always had these different inspirational builds that you can do from the parts that were available in the set, and it continues on the back of the box here as well. Although I did like this one, and I liked it as a kid, and I like it now. It has a very interesting way of showing how the shuttle actually took off, loses the booster, loses the fuel tank, that kind of thing, and then ideally they would do space-related activities. And then it would come back and land, although for some reason it landed without landing gear in the middle of the desert. The set itself wasn't anything all that special. I mean, if you guys have ever built sets recently from the 80s and 90s, you'll know that they're quite sparse compared to what we have nowadays. They're very part intensive. So it only came with these 3 minifigures. It comes with 2 ground crew, which you can see here. They just have the traditional yellow smiley face and this nice little blue hat. I always found with this set was quite humorous. Basically just wore a t-shirt, which I have removed, a sticker that you can apply to him because it was very silly, that said NASA and had an American flag on it. That was his uniform. So I also added some air tanks just because, I mean, come on. But it came with this little cart with the NASA logo with stickers on it, which I always loved playing with as a kid. It was a fun little design. So they get to wheel the astronaut right up to the shuttle. This actually did have one of the more intricate towers that were ever built and was a little more true to life than the ones that had come subsequently later on in the 90s, for those of you who might remember it. This particular device right here, and you can see it's just on hinge plates. Contrary to popular belief, a lot of people thought that was an elevator. What it actually is it's a payload. Basically, you go over the shuttle like so in real life, and the payload would be mounted to that. So that way, the bay doors would open up, and they stick the payload right inside vertically on the stack. That was very interesting, and we never saw it again be built from any of the subsequent space shuttles that came out. Shuttle also has, as you can see, both the solid rocket boosters and the tank. The tank is just attached with the little 1x4 plate here. This is just on a swivel. And you got a nice little rope down here with a hand crank, the robots. And one of the nice things about this set, which does make it somewhat sought after, are these 2x2x5 box girders, which were not widely produced. And this was one of the few sets that had them in significant quantity. So these parts are actually quite rare nowadays and actually quite sought after for more industrial type builds. The space shuttle itself was cleverly sat on these old school parts. These are another relatively old style part. You can see these are L-shaped brackets with sort of almost a snot design on the side. And if I tip it, you'll notice that, no, there goes a wrench. You'll notice that they have a groove in it. So the way they designed this, which was, I thought, actually very clever, and I don't know if I ever actually noticed this as a kid, was they took a couple of 1x1 jumper plates here, and the stud just fits into that groove, so it just keeps it from tipping over, which was pretty clever little bit of engineering for 1990. The shuttle, as you can see, is comically disproportionate to everything else. The solid rocket boosters are basically just a simple stacked bunch of 2x2 round bricks, and they attach right to the back of the shuttle. Very, very simple design. There is a rod that goes through them for a little bit more stability. The external fuel tank, which you can also see is quite small in comparison, was actually pretty well made for the time. There is a series of different rods that are going through this, held in place with bushings. And they just hold these tank sections. In fact, I'll pull one off so you can see what I'm talking about. And they just hold them in place, and here's the bushings, so they have these brick-built structures here. And this is actually what attaches to the back of the shuttle, and these just are held in by friction. A big unnecessary NASA sticker on it too, which was always fun. And then you had the shuttle itself, which was actually pretty decently designed given the time period. Later versions of the space shuttle would actually use that big black aerospace plate that some of you might be familiar with. This didn't have that. It was all brick built because that's what they had in 1990. You have just a single spot for the astronaut up front in the cockpit, and then the bay doors would open up like so. I have made a couple of small modifications to the space shuttle itself. First and foremost, I have put these 1x4 white plates on the top because there was nothing there before. They would just open freely. And it's kind of annoying because they would stick to the studs here, and they would tend to have a mind of their own or rip pieces off. So just a very simple modification, and is period correct. Additionally, I stuck 1x1 tiles and stuck them there. That would have just been 2 1x1 plates. Again, these also hinge down, and because they hinge down at a different angle, it just would carry them with them and pull the whole thing apart. I also put some NASA stickers on there. Historically, the shuttle does actually say NASA there, so it was just a fun little thing to add on. But otherwise, very simple modifications. The set was actually missing one little piece, which was an armature that goes onto the end of the arm. This is the satellite, by the way, which I'll show in just a moment. It was designed to hold the satellite in place. That arm is not there. Someday I'll get another one, but it's really not that big of a deal. The satellite itself is quite funny looking. It was very simple design. You just have an antenna and then a bunch of other antennas that folded out like so. I'm not sure what kind of satellite this is supposed to be. It's clearly not based on anything in reality, but you can stick it onto the end like so, and yay, we're deploying a satellite. So fun. All in all, for a set from the 90s, early 90s, this was a lot of fun. This was one of my favorite sets as a kid growing up. And nowadays, it's highly sought after. This was a North America exclusive. Europe didn't actually get this thing. So if you go on to Bricklink, you're going to see that new copies of this actually command a pretty hefty price tag. As such, I was actually able to get this for under $100 from one of our local secondhand shops here in Connecticut. And again, aside from that one little piece, the only thing that was wrong with it was some grungy parts, which me and Matt Healy spent an afternoon just scrubbing them with a toothbrush, cleaning it all up, came out perfect. And I did manage to get some recreation stickers to replace the original ones because they were kind of nasty after 30 years. There's a guy in the Netherlands who does reproduction stickers. You buy them for a few euros, ship them anywhere in the world. And I must say, they look brilliant. They look just like themselves from the 90s. So very, very nice design overall. Overall, I would say that this set is, if you're a fan of NASA and if you're a fan of, realistic spacecraft, this is one of those fun talking piece sets that you can get. And just to quickly run down, is it a buyer? Is it a parter? Is it a keeper? Is it a builder? Sure. If you have one that's, in this case, was used and is already kind of pre-built, why not buy it? It's a fun display set. It's a fun piece of nostalgia for us AFOLs out there who want to maybe just add it to their collection. I think it was definitely worth building again just to get the experience of enjoying that from my childhood. Is it a parter? Tough to say. Again, aside from a handful of very rare and very sought after parts, these box girders, chief among them, there really isn't a whole heck of a lot here that's new or exciting. I mean, this is very, very basic parts that you're getting, and some very old and antiquated parts as well. So unless you're looking for specific pieces, you could probably just as easily buy them off of Bricklink and do well. The black barrels is another one that I'll call out for the rear engine nozzles. That's actually kind of rare nowadays. We don't have them in black very often. And I will say, as a child, I coveted these as exhaust nozzles for jet aircraft. And last but not least, is it a keeper? Well, like I said, they command a pretty high price nowadays on Bricklink. These things are a massive premium. I've seen them go for hundreds of dollars in like new condition, especially sealed. $800-900 is not unheard of. So if you can find one at a decent price and hang on to it, chances are, yeah, you're going to have something that's really going to appreciate quite significantly in value, especially since, as I mentioned, this wasn't widely available worldwide. And this particular set, given the fact that it is branded NASA, definitely commands a little bit of a higher price point than average. And I will say that if you were to look at other subsequent space shuttles from the 1990s, none of them are as sought after as the original was. So overall, this is a fun little set. And I'm really glad that I was able to find it and rebuild it again after so many years. And, you know, certainly if you have the opportunity to do so, I always tell people, you know, as an AFOL, I think you owe it to yourself to go and find some of those sets you had as a child and rebuild them and get to experience them again and just have them as part of your collection.